Morning. Can you hear me okay? I can't hear you yet.
So sorry. I clicked the wrong Zoom. I clicked for a Google Meet that's tomorrow, and I was sitting there like waiting for the host to let you in, and I was like, okay. And then I was like, wait a minute. Ours was a Zoom, not a Google Meet. I'm like, shit, that's for something tomorrow.
We could talk about that, instead. Maybe that's going to be more exciting than this.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Justin, how are you?
Very well. How you doing?
Doing all right, thank you. Just actually was just checking out some of your stuff here this morning, and oh my gosh, man, I'll tell you, after doing a little bit of homework, dude, you've had an amazing career.
It's definitely been non-linear and really exciting and interesting.
I'll bet. Which I think sometimes something like that would actually play into a career of more longevity too, because you're not just honing in on like one area. You got your fingers in a lot of things. First of all, thank you very much for putting some time aside today. Totally appreciate that.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Cool. Where are you at this morning, geographically?
I live in Los Angeles, specifically at the moment. I've been in Los Feliz, California for a long time, which is like Silver Lake, Los Feliz. Over there, there's a great debate between transplants and natives about if this is actually the east side of Los Angeles, because hipsters call it the east side, and people who've lived here for generations, particularly of Latin American descent, would scoff at the idea that Silver Lake or Los Feliz is the east side, since it's on the west side of the LA River.
Because we have to get really technical,
Yeah.
It depends on what letters you can throw down,
Right.
Because I'll tell you what, and before we get going, I know I've only got you for just a bit this morning. Could I possibly get a couple of really quick plugs from you?
Sure.
To the network? The Groove Zone, DJD Phoenix. Whatever words you want to throw in around it is totally up to you.
Did you say so? So the Groove Zone, DJD Phoenix.
Yep.
Cool. Ready?
Just whenever you are.
This is going to be video plug or audio plug?
It'll eventually be audio, but it's primarily video.
Okay, cool. Yo, what's up? This is Justin Warfield, and you are here with DJD and Phoenix on Groove Radio.
Awesome.
Hey, this is Justin Warfield from She Wants Revenge, and you are here with DJD on Groove Radio.
Sorry, that was the neighbor guy mowing his lawn.
Yeah, one more time. Yo, what's up? This is Justin Warfield from She Wants Revenge, and you were here with DJD and Phoenix. Wait, sorry, DJD Phoenix or DJD?
Yep, no, DJD right. Phoenix. You got it.
Yo, what's up? This is Justin Warfield from She Wants Revenge, and you were here with DJD Phoenix on Groove Radio.
Just like that. Justin, thank you.
Yeah, man.
So how are things? Busy as usual, I see.
Very busy at the moment. Probably the most busy I've been in. I don't know. And I don't remember a time when I've actually ever been this busy, but it's good. Sort of brain firing on all cylinders, a lot of creative things going on, from tours and tour planning, rehearsals. A lot of things, dude, a lot of things. I'm doing a lot of independent A&R, helping other artists with their careers, with their record releases. I am prepping a solo album release for myself, about to get in the studio and start writing a new She Wants Revenge record. Going on a family vacation for the first time in a long time, and also moving house. So no shortage of things.
Let's just put a little bit more on the plate.
Yeah, that's kind of what I do. Like, yeah, no, I got room for one more.
Oh yeah, no doubt. You mentioned something a minute ago, being part of the A&R. You mentioned something a minute ago, being part of the A&R and helping some different artists getting their careers going and things like that. What an exciting part of the business that is as well. To see somebody, especially on their way up. Yeah, I love stuff like that. So you're touring not as Warfield, but She Wants Revenge is hitting the road here very soon.
Yeah, so the first tour is actually going to be She Wants Revenge tours, and then I'm going to sort of piggyback off of that and find the markets and the venues that fit best for presenting the Warfield show, which is really cool and different. Like, you know, at first it was like when I wasn't doing She Wants Revenge and wasn't really, you know, anytime I've ever stepped away from the band, it was never like I need time. It was like pretty much like a decision of like I don't want to do this. And I think that I'm a pretty all the way in, all the way out person with things, and pretty extreme in a lot of ways. When I'm making a short film, I can't conceive about having a career in music. When I have a film in development and I'm working on a screenplay or casting or doing lens tests or shooting, I could not conceive of being in a rehearsal room or writing a bridge for a song or playing the guitar even. I'm just so single-minded of purpose. And I was very, very much in the world of the Warfield album and live experience. And through, you know, a sequence of events, started to consider the possibility that perhaps She Wants Revenge could be something that I continue with. And so rather than playing shows as Warfield and saying, here's 8 songs from my new album and here's 3 She Wants Revenge hits, which I wasn't really feeling great about doing, only because sonically it just felt like it didn't feel forced, but it definitely did. It felt like a concession. It felt like I will be doing this. I will be playing these songs in order to make the people who come to the shows stoked. So if I'm gonna do that, which I am the type of, you know, performer that's not like, hey, it's whatever I want, F the crowd. Like, I definitely am like, hey, like, you paid your money, you made a choice, you are being cool enough and generous enough of your time, spirit, money, and energy to come partake in this. I'm going to give something back. So I was finding new ways to interpret the She Wants Revenge songs I was playing in the context of a Warfield set. But having said that, once the decision was made to also concurrently do She Wants Revenge, it was definitely like a light bulb went off where I'm like, well, then when I play Warfield shows, just know that you're not going to see She Wants Revenge songs. Come to a She Wants Revenge show for that. Like, right. You know what I mean? Like, right. We don't have to do that. Also, because as you alluded to at the top, I have, you know, 15 years worth of music that predates She Wants Revenge that I could put into a set of music, so that, you know, not to sort of be the elder statesman and play to my age, but it can be an evening with where I go, hey, here's a song I did from a soundtrack. Here's like a trip hop song. Here's a song from my band in the 90s, you know, any number of things.
Right. And why not? You know, and eventually, you know, who's to say that you may not have another wild idea come along where you release like a full-on set of like your old music. You know, just the fact, oh God, so many things that I want to shove into this small time frame with you.
Well, go for
it. Just the fact though that you've been doing music as long as you have, but also some of your early on collaborations. I mean, Bomb the Bass, Bomb the Best. I just absolutely totally dig them. The fact that one of your, you know, in my eyes, one of your best tracks, especially early on in your career, was with them, is amazing. Depeche Mode. Oh my gosh. There again, a DM fan. All oh my gosh. There again, a DM fan all the way. People think this says white power, and it's actually DM. Try and explain that one. Speaking of Depeche Mode, rest in peace, Andy Fletcher. You guys, or you toured with Depeche back in 2006, yeah?
Yeah.
Now, was that for touring the Angel?
Yeah. So it was um it was really special. I actually found, as I'm moving right now, and I was going through a box to see what was what, and my wife is really good at organizing. I didn't realize she had kept like so many things from some of the early She Wants Revenge days, because we had just started dating like right when before the record came out. And so the first album, so like I found like tour books from tours, and I found like, you know, Coachella wristbands and meal tickets, and, you know, day of like, hey, here's like the itinerary for playing Conan O'Brien, and like crazy, like. And one of the things was I saw the Touring the Angel laminate, and I was like thinking back to how fun that was. And, you know, somebody who plays in She Wants Revenge now was asking me about, you know, Fletch, and I was telling him about Fletcher when I first met him, and the periods in my life that correspond to Depeche Mode, personally, rather than just being a fan, is like,
right,
you know, when Tim Simonon, who is Bomb the Bass, was like probably the second musical mentor that entered my life and sort of changed the course of direction in my life. The first being Quincy Jones, the third, and his father, Quincy Jones, who produced me, discovered me, and then signed me to his label. The second being Tim Simonon from Bomb the Bass. And a couple years into our relationship of making music, after we had done Bug Powder Dust and had some success, and sort of he signed my second, he signed a band of mine called 1 Inch Punch, and he was making Ultra, and he played the record that we had made together for the DM guys, and they were like, whoa, this is amazing. And they're like, will you see if he can remix something for us? So the first thing I ended up doing was, he was like, do you want to remix Depeche Mode? I was like, that's a crazy question. And so then he sent me like, this is like the old days, so he sent me like a 2-inch reel of like Barrel of a Gun, and was like, have at it. And so it was like probably 97, and I just was like, okay, I've been playing with drum and bass and jungle beats, and also was like, I also want to distort everything. And so it was really fun. And so so that became the basis of the relationship. And then later I hung out with Dave, and then I became really good friends with Martin. And then I met Fletch at Tim's birthday party, where Fletch was hosting Tim's birthday party at his bar, Gascones. And so having a relationship with those guys, and even the behind the scenes crew, like the music director,
right,
was actually the programmer for Bomb the Bass, and like who programmed one of the people who worked on Clear, the album that had Bug Powder Dust. So there was really like the two camps were pretty enmeshed and merged. And so by the time I bumped into Martin in Los Angeles years later, Adam was like, oh my God, there's Martin Gore. And I was like, oh my God, I got to introduce you. So I ran up, Martin, big hug. And I was like, this is Adam, we're in a band together. And then I was like, Adam, go get that advanced CD of our record from the car. And Adam came back with like, you know, a like a 4-press only version. And I handed it to Martin, and I just said, listen to our new group. I'm like, we liberally rip you off, and I think you're going to really like it. And then a few months later, we got a report that people were backstage at their after show going, yeah, like your guys' music was on loop the whole party. And so when I heard that, I reached out to my manager, had reached out to them and said, hey, the boys want to open for you guys. And they said, great. So they took us out, and it was like one of the first shows was like Mountain View, and like, you know, like Bay Area. And then like we did this tour, and it changed our lives, and it changed it.
Hey, it's Carol Pope, and I'm here with DJ Phoenix, and we're celebrating Valentine's Day, and I hope you get some. I hope everybody gets some on Sessions.
Yes, I want a lot of some.
So all you brothers and your friends, some ain't like the rat. Son, you gotta test. It's over season of the dick has to be addressed. It's that answer.
It changed our lives, and it felt like graduate school for live music, and it was really amazing. So, you know, sometimes you open for your heroes, but like sometimes like you also like watch the way they do it, and it teaches you things. And like from top to bottom, like from the way everything about that tour allowed us at the right time when our band was really ascending and starting to peak. It showed us the blueprint for how to do a lot of things.
Oh, I'll bet. If you were on the tour when they played Seattle in 2006, then we caught you. No,
unfortunately, no, because like, yeah, like it was weird because like I feel like maybe like the Bravery did some before us, and then Gold Frat probably did some after us.
I would have totally remembered Gold Frat, but I was having a mental block earlier, and I thought, you know what? I think that I've caught She Won, and then yeah, you're right. It was the Bravery. Well, lucky them as well.
Yeah.
Wow, that's, you know, and not necessarily. I mean, we could spend absolute hours on especially your early career, but you know, getting up into the later part. Now, She Wants Revenge hasn't done anything full on for a little while, right? Up until, I don't know, is there album release simultaneously with the tour, or no? We're just gonna get back on the road and some.
I mean, no. I mean, honestly, it was all really fast. It was like I was gonna be doing shows in the spring I was going to be doing shows in May with Warfield, and then like I just wasn't really sure my comfort level of touring at that point, and like sort of variants were flying around and Omicron, and it was like clubs were still like maybe not full capacity, and I was just like uncertain about how I was going to approach things, and then started to look at the possibility of getting the band together and started having discussions with Adam. And so I've waited for so long to release the Warfield album that like I don't even like, it's one of those things where like nowadays with music you put it out and it's like, do people know that it's being released, right? Like,
right.
And it's really disheartening as an artist who puts so much into music or any piece of art, and then you put it out in a digital age with short attention spans and everybody like being over, like whether you're whatever your medium is as a creator, if you put it out into a digital space, it's just so easy to get lost. And that's one of the reasons my independent A&R and label services company is called Tree Falls in a Forest. So it's like basically saying like, hey, like how do you get your music heard, right?
Doubt.
And so
wow.
So like for me, I've sat on my Warfield album for so long that I'm not just gonna like say F it and release it. I want to do it properly. So when the opportunity came to really approach She Wants Revenge and summer tours starting to book and everything getting crazy, like, okay, everybody's been sitting here for 3 years, 2.5 years waiting to tour, everything's booked. It was like, am I going to go do Warfield stuff, or am I going to just like go out there and do She Wants Revenge? And so I decided to sort of put Warfield on the back burner for a second. It's going to be fine. I'm so excited to put it out and do it properly. So it was like, let's just go tour She Wants Revenge. Just people will be happy enough that we're actually a band after a proper breakup, that they'll just be like, okay, great. And we were like, we committed to making an album. And so we announced it at the same time. So we're going to be touring starting in like a month, and then we're going to be writing, and we're going to make a record in between tours. And I'm also going to be planning a release and concurrently releasing Warfield singles. And I just put out the first Warfield single June 17th.
Amazing track. Everything to me.
Thanks, man.
Oh my gosh, the story behind it is totally amazing. But the song, the track itself, what an honor, man, to have a song like that written, on your behalf. But I mean, down to the just everything about it, I just totally dig it. And I'm not just blowing air your direction, like seriously, probably one of the best tracks that I've heard in a long time. By any
Thanks,
artist.
man. I appreciate. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Like, one of the things I do in my role as head of A&R at Downright Music. If you don't know, it's for anybody listening and watching, it's a music technology creator economy platform that allows for musicians, bands, singer-songwriters, producers, DJs, creators who make music to be contacted by either an individual or a brand or a company and say, we want a custom bespoke one-of-one song. So the same way that you feel like an NFT is something non-fungible, it's like something just for you. This is truly just for you. Like if you went and said, hey, like I want you to paint me a painting, or I want you to build me a guitar that's not something off the assembly line. If you went to your favorite songwriter, your favorite band, musician, whoever, and said, I want you to create a song for me, whether it was like, hey, from my like station ID at my radio station to score my short film for my wife's anniversary. So I don't use the platform normally for like life events or life occasions like birthdays, anniversaries. I'm just like,
Right.
I'm an artist and I just make music. I don't advertise myself as writing for anything other than, do you want a short song? Do you want a long song? Do you want me to do a shoegaze anthem? Do you want me to do a hardcore hip hop song? It's a fun challenge and cue as a songwriter. But when somebody wrote to me and said, hey, my wife, like it's our 25th anniversary and we're hardcore fans. We've seen you live a lot. We love you. These are our favorite songs of yours. Would you write a song for her anniversary? I responded by saying, well, does it like have to be an anniversary song? It's like, no, it has to be a song. And I was like, oh, you're just giving a song to somebody. And so they paid me to write a song, which is any songwriter would tell you they write songs for free every day. So it was incredible.
Right.
And then I write a song. And as soon as I start I came up with the bass line first. And I was like, oh, that's like so curie and cool and dreamy. And I was like, oh, wow, that's dope. And then I had the vocal melody and I was singing it into my phone. Oftentimes things start with just like a little like voice note. And I was like, oh my God, that's like a single. And I knew in that moment I wanted to release the song. So I was like, I'm not going to do it like it's a gift for somebody or it's like a work for hire. I'm going to do it like I have a burst of inspiration and, you know, I'm going to make this great. So I went about recording it like I would anything else on the Warfield album. And I just turned it into this thing, and it was really fun. And now it's a song that when I do Warfield shows, I'll play live. It lives on and is something that, you know, the daughter of the recipient of the song tagged me and was like, Mama's song. And I was like, what? I'm like, oh my God, that's like about her mom. Like, that's crazy. Like, wow. And so, you know, like my favorite songwriters, like often you won't know what like a Lou Reed song is about. Like you might know who Candy Darling is, but you don't know who Stephanie is, or, you know, even Jane, right? So you're right. Like, okay, like it doesn't really matter where the inspiration comes from. So to me, this is really exciting and fun as a challenge. And now I have this song that this person is invested in emotionally and in sort of the real world by virtue of the way that Downright works. So it's pretty amazing.
Oh my gosh. And you said something about the Cure a moment ago. I think that it just resonates of New Order. It just has, there is such a, I've listened to it a few times already just in the last couple of days. Thank you, Ray, by the way. And yeah, this one's kind of got Anthem kind of written all over it. That, like,
it definitely, totally. I mean, it's really, sometimes I as a songwriter, I do wish I could write small. Sometimes I do wish I could write smaller and just be a little bit more, like a lot of indie artists who I love can do a really amazing song that doesn't feel epic or anthemy, that just feels like, I don't know, small, but not in a bad way, but just sort of, you know,
right.
Scope. And I don't know why I tend to go the other way. I mean, it's probably being like an 80s baby. I mean, I'm, you know, really a kid of the 70s, and a lot of that was pretty big and anthemy, but
right.
Excuse me, a lot of 80s stuff was that really informed me. And that, like, when I say 80s, like also people who are younger or don't really get it. When I say 80s, like definitely mean like 82 to 86. Like there was still some stuff in, like, you know what I mean? There's like a sweet spot. Years.
This week on The Sessions with DJ D Phoenix. Justin Warfield of She Wants Revenge. Reflexes, John Baxter and Paul Fishman. Bellator MMA champion, Nathan Superman Stolen, of Aberdeen, Washington. And country rock artist, Caleb Twitwell. This week, on The Sessions, with DJ D Phoenix.
There's like a sweet
those
spot.
years. Yeah.
It's like really special years of like, you know, there was just a lot happening culturally that still felt like holdover from the 70s. And I guess like when I think about it, like I like Epic. I really do. I mean, I like, you know, the opening guitar solo to When Doves Cry, announcing that you're about to hear something pretty special. I like, you know, big epic, you know, Fascination Street. I like, you know, Blue Monday. I like, you know, things that are pretty big, you know what I mean? There's cool things like, I love the song Spellbound by Susie, but I don't really usually write like that. Usually when I write, it ends up being something a little bit bigger, like whether it's, I don't know, it's just everybody's different, you know what I mean? And for this, like there's an element of Warfield that is really without being too technical, like She Wants Revenge was founded on the principle of like, we were producers who were doing tracks for other people, and Adam did a beat that felt like if you took B Movie's Nowhere Girl and played it at half speed. And I was like, that's really cool and really dark. And I was like, oh, I want to like sing over that. And I sang over it. And I did a vocal that I tried to have intensity without volume, to have passion and energy without yelling. And I found the voice that became the singing voice for She Wants Revenge, which is obviously not my speaking voice. And it was like, oh, I just want to yell, but I don't want to yell, because everything at the time was like, in 2003 was like post nu metal. And I was like, I don't want to yell, but it's got to have energy. And I stumbled on this thing that to me at first sounded more Wall of Voodoo and Fred Schneider than it did sort of Ian Curtis or Peter Murphy. But I've always had a low voice, and people have told me in the past, like, oh, you know, I knew that if you said, hey, sing along to like The Passenger by Iggy, or like, that's a good range for me. If you said sing along to like Moonlight Drive by The Doors, that's a good range for me. When I was a kid, I wanted to sing along to, you know, Mountain Song by Perry, and that's not my range. You know, I can't sing like Jane says. I can sing like, you know, like Stephanie says. Like, you know.
No doubt. Oh my gosh.
So all that to say, we started with the premise of let's do this music that is simple, that is almost like if you took Suicide and mixed it with Depeche Mode and Giorgio Moroder and Vangelis strings, and a little bit of the lyrical sort of storyteller element of some Smiths and some early New Order. And that was sort of this and a lot of Prince, and that was sort of the recipe for like the parameters of the ballpark for She Wants Revenge and the space to play in. Because the thing is, even though people are like, oh, these guys sound like everybody else, it's like, yeah, like when you start a band and you put an ad in your local paper back in the day, and you say, let's play music together, influences, the Stones, the Beatles, Cheap Trick, you name it. Everybody has their references. The thing is, we're just really good at it. And like, and that's the truth. And it's like, when you're really good at something and it's natural, there's some people like the Black Crowes definitely didn't come out in a vacuum like, I've never heard music like this before. You were like, wow, this sounds like everything all at once, but totally new. And I think that when we came out, people were like, there was a lot of music that was like, yes, there was Interpol, yes, there was The Bravery, yes, there was Hot Heat, and there was The Editors, and there was Stella Star, and bands that people have long since maybe even forgotten. There was Block Party, there was Chick, there was The Rapture. It was an Wolf Mother's incredible moment in alternative music, but people were looking to either dance and have fun, right? And we were like, that's cool, but can you be crying at the same time? And so taking the idea of, I loved what was happening musically at the time, but what I wasn't getting was the sort of lyrical earnestness that I loved about the Cure or my friends in Placebo, or I didn't want to do cool, detached, like, look how cool we are lyrics, and you don't know what I'm saying. I've always liked lyrics that were like, there's a club if you like to go, you could meet somebody who really loves you. So you go and you stand on your own and you leave on your own, you go home and you cry and you want to die. Like, to me, that's like one of the best lyrics ever written, because it's not going like, what are you talking about? Super mysterious. I don't want to be like the coolest lyricist. I want to make a song where somebody says, you told exactly how I feel. You told my story. Exactly. And so when we did all that, right, like, there were rules. And one of them was, let's have energy without being like overly like over the top, like with it. Let's have restraint. Let's have power without distortion, and let's have like passion without yelling. And so to play a song like Sister or I Don't Want to Fall in Love or any of the songs from our early days, all the way through this range of, most people don't know our real catalog, think we sound one way, but if you listen to Valley Heart or Save Your Soul EP, you're like, whoa, this band was like touching on like Pulp and Primal Scream and all these other influences and things that were such a part of our world and influences. All that to say, with Warfield, it's a little bit like the gloves are off. And I was like, there are no rules. And like, for me, I got to really lean into a period of me that was like, I know that She Wants Revenge occupies a space. I know I don't want to do something like that. I don't want to be like, oh, that's the solo thing from the singer, and he's just doing a more mature version of that, or a more solo version. I was like, crank up the fuzz pedals, and how do I go into that? And it wasn't intentional. I wrote a song. If you've heard the record, there's a song, I don't know if you've heard the album, there's a song called wait, what's the song? I'm trying to think. There's a couple. It might be The Past May Not Be Through With You. But there's this one song where I wrote this keyboard part, and I was like, oh my God, that sounds like a John Hughes movie. And then I started thinking about the sound of the sort of breathy synth, the like Thompson Twins and all, and like early OMD, you know, and all that stuff. And I started going, wait a minute, like, there was a beautiful moment in like 88 through 90 where alternative music like My Bloody Valentine and Ride and all of this stuff collided with like a weird period of like The Cure and Susie. Like when like The Cure like felt like heavy fuzz acid, like, and I was like, oh, I didn't even really know I needed to make like a shoegaze record, right? And so the difference between She Wants Revenge and Warfield, sonically, it's so different, and that's exciting.
Oh my gosh. All of this reminds me that I just want to let you know that anywhere down the road, my door is always open for another visit. Whenever you have time, you have something going on, whatever, you just want to like chat and say, hey, I always keep that door open to our guests. And I know that we've got probably 100 other things to talk about. However, I've already been given our little highest sign, and we are starting to run out of time. So as I mentioned before, thank you again for putting some time aside today. This has been
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure.
I do have a couple of things actually that I want to hit on, at least one.
Let's do it.
Okay, well, we do this podcast, Dub Effects, recording artist, and I, a couple of years ago, got one off the ground totally by accident. It was just over the course of a conversation. And in this podcast, we talk about all kinds of ethereal things. Justin, I want to know, has there ever been a point in time, and there again, this might be a long, big, drawn-out subject to hit at another time, but has there ever been a time in all your travels or in all your days, have you ever looked up and seen something out there that you can't quite explain?
Like otherworldly or something?
Well, just, yeah, an identified aerial phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was funny. Like I was doing a band practice. Band practice with my band Supernaut about a month or so before it became 1 Inch Punch, after, because the lineup had broken up and we still called ourselves Supernaut, but I'd written 1 Inch Punch on the rehearsal room wall as an idea for a band. And so a month later it became that band once we sort of like found our drummer and kick somebody else out of the band, or it happened naturally. And we were all sitting there and we were definitely not sober, and the sun was coming up, and we were all sitting in a parking lot and we were looking up, and somebody was like, hey, what's that? And we were staring at this thing, and it was definitely a hovering light, and it was like the sky was like not all the way light, not all the way dark, very like, I guess you would call it, like not twilight, but whatever, like that dawn,
Right.
Just breaking. And it was like this light, and it was sort of, you know, moving in a weird way. And I was like, is that a reflection? Is that a helicopter? Is that like, I mean, this was like 1996, so I don't think we were going, is it like a drone? Or, you know what I mean? It was like a long time ago. So we're like, what is that? You know, we had known about stealth plane fighters and stuff like that. And is it military? We didn't jump to UFO. We're like, what is that? Started doing this and this and this and this. And then it just went, and it was gone. And we were like, so,
wow.
You know, I, at the time was like, that was for sure a UFO. But I also think it was like the pattern of movement was not something I was familiar with. The speed at which it disappeared was not something that I've ever seen before. And honestly, just by virtue of our sort of curiosities and where our minds were and are, I just always think that, like, I'm not like a conspiracy person. It's a dangerous time in the country or in the world to be a conspiracy person, but I definitely like sometimes thought that challenges the conventional. And my feeling at the time, and even now, is that something unidentified can have its roots in technology and somewhere else, but could be made by the government. And so, like, for me at the time, I wasn't thinking like that's an alien, but I also may have been thinking like that's alien technology that's militarized. Like, so, like, you know what I mean? So, like, so I think that, like, I'm not saying that that was a visitor from another planet coming to see us, but I also don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that if those things ever have come to this planet, that it clearly they have, and clearly we know, right?
We do, yeah.
And so what if that technology was something that had its origins elsewhere, and that's why it behaved in a way that didn't make sense to our eyes? But that would be my experience with that.
Okay. And that actually, that's, I love asking that question because I never know what kind of response I'm going to get, especially from artists, you know, because but for every person though, they've got their own experience, their own belief system and all that too. So, well, very cool. So, one more thing, and then we'll say goodbye. A word to the world. If you could say anything to anyone watching today, message of, you know, whatever, what would you like to share with everybody?
Just be cool. Just be nice to each other.
No doubt.
It's just so much easier to be nice than it is to be hateful or aggro. So I think that it's I guess the biggest bummer to me about COVID, besides the loss of life and the loss of income, and like, you know, I mean, there was somebody from like the Fed or something last night who was like, oh, we don't know if like the economy will ever truly recover into a pre-COVID level. And that didn't mean that it won't be robust or thriving. It just meant that it might be different. Like a lot of our lives are different. Like yesterday, I was explaining to my 14-year-old son how.
Hi, this is Drew from Strange Advance, and you're listening to The Groove Zone with DJ D Phoenix.
Like a lot of our lives are different. Like yesterday, I was explaining to my 14-year-old son how the world changed after 9/11, from Homeland Security to, you know, which a name like that sounded so Orwellian and like Germanic before 9/11. Or I talked to him about like the way our daily lives changed after 9/11, and the way our lives are changing because of what happened with COVID. It's just so interesting to me that the saddest thing, besides the loss of life and the loss of income, is really that regardless of our political, ideological, and social and racial divisions and things that have existed here since the creation of this country, there were times in the past where a great catastrophe would bring us together. And I just think that what's so unique about 2020 is that it happened at a time when things had led up to division, but then the division was being stoked from on high, from so the idea that there was someone who said, I'm not going to bring you together, but for my own benefit politically, I'm going to further tear you all apart and tear apart the country and divide us even more when we all need to come together. That's super heavy. Now take away who is in office at the time. Just the idea that as people, we didn't say, well, F you, we don't care that we're coming together. I grew up in LA, so there's been earthquakes where everybody's hugging each other or looking at each other with lots of love in their eyes.
I hate to do that. Oh my God.
No, it's cutting off. It's cutting off.
I know it is. Justin, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Come back on at some point. Let's finish this up.
Cool, dude.
Have yourself an amazing tour. I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Crocodile.
I'll see you there, dude.
Awesome. You guys, this has been Justin Warfield with She Wants Revenge. You're watching The Groove Zone. And DJ D Phoenix, thank you so much. We will talk to you soon. Have a great day, my friend.
Take care, bud.
Oh my gosh. That's about as
more
cool
later,
as it gets, guys. All right, buddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
You bet. And I'll get some info through Ray to you.
Awesome. Appreciate your time.
You can dance if you want to.
Experience the new alternative.
Get ready.